What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Monday, the 3rd day of February in the year 2025. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here is what we're tracking tonight. Just over $7.3 billion has been approved for the Guyana Elections Commission as it prepares for the hosting of general elections this year. Ahead of approving the sum for the constitutional body, the Parliamentary Committee of Supply was told by the Minister of Governance and Parliamentary Affairs, Gilda Shearer, that 19,000 temporary election staffers will be trained as part of the preparations for the upcoming elections. A total of $193 million has been set aside for education and training.
This is involving 19,000 people being trained for election day staff. Right? So that figure of that we gave and the amounts and so on, this is going to cover the training programs and the selection and, identification and all the election day staff. So that's including the training package. So 19,000 people have to be trained as temporary election day staff.
The Committee of Supply has also approved $1.8 billion for GECOM's operating expenses, while $227.3 million has been set aside for the rental of buildings. Further, $1.1 billion has been approved for the acquisition of goods and services, including civic education programs, production of infomercials, and publication of election-related notices. The sum also caters for security services that will be required during the course of the elections, particularly at the various GECOM offices throughout the country. The committee also provided clearance for $1.7 billion to cover employment costs and a further $1.6 billion for wages and salaries associated with the upcoming elections. In 2024, $2.9 billion was approved for the Elections Commission. More news coming up in just a moment.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch. Even one word. I can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith, one day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Your own home is so much more than just 4 walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Hi, this is Van Fields of the Stylistics. We'll be on the lawns of the Transport General Sports Club in Georgetown. The Ultimate Soul Concert on Valentine's Night, Friday, February 14th, with our live band for a dinner under the stars. Hope to see you there.
Well, leader of the Alliance for Change, Nigel Hughes, is pressing the Ministry of Housing to come clean on a July 2024 land deal that went down between the Central Housing and Planning Authority and New Global Investments Incorporated, a company that has controversial and convicted US-based Guyanese real estate developer Ed Ahmad as its director and secretary. At issue is New Global's July 2024 purchase of 30 acres of land for real estate development at Plantation Ogle for $30 million per acre. The land is located close to the ExxonMobil head office, which is currently under construction. Ahmad was found guilty in a multi-million US dollar mortgage fraud scheme in New York. He was placed under court supervision for a number of years after completing his jail time. The AFC leader has questioned whether the Central Housing and Planning Authority can indicate how a citizen can purchase an acre of land for $30 million at Ogle, near to the ExxonMobil intended head office. The Ministry of Housing and Water issued a statement late on Friday night, indicating that the acquisition of commercial lands is an open process available to any interested company or individuals. The authority said it guarantees that all transactions follow established protocols rigorously, including those concerning the recent sale of commercial lands. The ministry also said it publicly advertised a call for expressions of interest from housing developers, and the multiple companies not only expressed interest but also met with the outlined criteria. On the $30 million per acre price tag, the CHPA said the price is a uniformed rate, which was established for all developers, and there were no preferential rates or special considerations afforded to any entity. The CHPA said all companies acquiring prime commercial lands are strictly required to adhere to the stipulated agreements regarding property use. It added that any deviation from the agreement will incur penalties as detailed in the contractual arrangements. In a second statement within 24 hours, the Minister of Housing and Water, Colin Crowell, reminded Mr. Hughes that under the APNU AFC government, multiple land deals were signed at the same $30 million per acre and lower to developers, and that took place in the run-up to the last elections and after a no-confidence vote had been passed against the then government. Mr. Crowell said ironically, when the current government sought to cancel the deals, many of the developers rushed to the law firm where Mr. Hughes serves as a partner to represent their interests. Since raising his initial questions and concerns, the Alliance for Change leader has now released copies of documents which show that 6 months before the agreement was inked between Ed Ahmad's New Global Investments Incorporated and the Central Housing and Planning Authority for the Ogle land, there was a property deal signed for the sale of a house in Queens, New York, between another company reportedly managed by a relative of Ed Ahmad and the CEO of the Central Housing and Planning Authority. The house was later resold. Hughes is raising questions about the transparency of the land sale and whether it may have been linked to the property purchase in the U.S. Meanwhile, the Sheriff Group of companies in Guyana has distanced itself from Ed Ahmad, indicating in a social media post that he has no ties to the Sheriff Group. The Sheriff Group of companies is controlled and managed by a relative, Amir Ahmad. On the political front again, human rights activist and former minister under the APNU AFC government, Simona Broomes, has branched out on her own and has formed a new political party to contest the upcoming elections. Broomes, who was also a member of the People's National Congress, has launched the Assembly for Liberty and Prosperity, the ALP. At the launching on Saturday, Ms. Broomes vowed to be the voice of the voiceless while confronting poverty, corruption, crime, domestic violence, discriminatory practices, and injustice.
We are here to be the voice of the voiceless. To stand and fight against violence and crime and wicked crimes against women, it just means that we are here for that good change and a better Guyana.
Back in 2013, Broomes was awarded by the U.S. government as an international hero in the fight against trafficking in persons. She started that fight against trafficking in persons as she served as a gold miner and businesswoman. She was one of the founders of the Women Miners Association. She has continued that fight in and out of government and now intends to champion democratic values, ensure greater access to free and quality education, fair wages, citizen security, innovation, and technology, while building resilient infrastructure.
A lot of people ask me about manifesto, a book that I don't want to hear the word manifesto. We're going to talk about our vision and our blueprint. We got too much of failed manifestos lying somewhere with dust on it and has not changed the lives of the ordinary Guyanese people. We got too much manifestos out there, and teachers are still moving from their homes because they can't afford a rent and living on a dam without toilet. We got too much manifestos that speak to changing the lives of police officers. We got too much manifestos and policies that speak to the lives of women. But yet still, with all these resources, poverty is upon us more than ever before.
Broomes announced that her party, the ALP, already has a membership of over 1,000 persons. Speaking directly to the electorate, Broomes urged Guyanese to give the ALP a chance to make a difference.
We'll be knocking at your doors. If there's anybody that is undecided and don't know where to vote, I met a lot of those. The ALP saying, there's space for you, come home. If we have young first-time voters, come home. The ALP must be a home for those who feel like there's no hope.
On the sidelines of the launch on Saturday, Ms. Broomes, who served as a government minister between 2015 and 2020, told reporters that she has long severed ties with the People's National Congress reform. She said the ALP is an independent party, offering no indication of any willingness to coalesce with any of the other parties ahead of the elections. AFC leader Nigel Hughes and Equality and Justice Party leader Jaipal Sharma were among the well-wishers, supporters, and other invitees gathered at the launch of the new party. The government's housing initiative came under the microscope on Friday night as the National Assembly's Committee of Supply examined the budgetary allocations and estimates for the housing ministry. Opposition Member of Parliament Annette Ferguson flagged the government housing program, telling the Committee of Supply that many of those approved for the houses have been complaining about the major defects in the structures. During the consideration of the estimates, Ferguson said many of those who have been approved and have paid for their homes are still to move into those homes because of various issues with the homes. She called on the housing ministry to address the problem.
So the question is, Mr. Speaker, why is it that when the contractors are building these houses to substandard work, Mr. Speaker, and the beneficiaries lodge their complaints to the ministry, why is it that the ministry is not addressing the people's concern?
Thank you.
In response, Housing Minister Colin Crowe said that all the houses built by the government have defect liability periods, which provide for any problem to be rectified before handing over to the beneficiary. He explained further that before a house is handed over, the beneficiary is given a tour along with the bank for inspection purposes. He admitted, however, that there have been some challenges due to the cost factor.
What is also factual, Mr. Chairman, we have had issues with some contractors. That's factual. And I won't sit here to say that we have not had challenges. And one of the major reasons has been because of our deliberate policy to ensure that the houses are not constructed at a profit-making basis, because they're kept to a minimum to allow affordability.
In addition, the minister announced that more than 100 core homes will be built by the government this year. The opposition Member of Parliament Ferguson also raised questions about the houses being built by the ministry and remaining unoccupied. Minister Crowe said in many of those cases, persons are not moving into the homes for their own personal reasons. On the issue of land allocation, the Housing Ministry has set an ambitious land allocation target for this year. It hopes to distribute 25,000 house lots by the end of December. It was initially planning to distribute 10,000 house lots. The allocations, the minister explained, will target all regions.
As a result, Mr. Chairman, we have been able to move beyond the 10,000 and in our engagement with the various regions to be able to come up with our target that we intended. And that is why the Minister of Finance, in his speech, could have announced that we will be allocating a minimum of 25,000 lots.
The work plan and allocations for the Housing Ministry received approval from the Committee of Supply.
Hi, this is Van Fields of the Style Listings. We'll be on the lawns of the Transport General Sports Club in Georgetown, the Ultimate Soul Concert on Valentine's Night, Friday, February 14th, with our live band for a dinner under the stars. Hope to see you there.
Your own home is so much more than just four walls, floors, and ceilings. It's a lifetime of great memories and stories. Come talk to us and start your journey home today.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Ready to up your game? Ready to up your game? Win big with over 60 epic prizes. A brand new PS5, Nintendo Switch, iPhone 16 Pro Max, Apple smartwatch, and the hottest earbuds from Apple and Samsung. Plus, we are giving away thousands in phone credit and a whole year supply of Buster or Turbo Energy drink. Here's how. Buy any Buster or Turbo Energy drink, find the code starting with BB and enter online or on WhatsApp. Visit us on Facebook or Instagram at Turbo_Caribbean or Buster Guyana for all the details. Don't just play. Up your game with Buster and Turbo Energy.
Turning now to the oil and gas sector, moments after he declared that the government has nothing to hide with regards to the management of the petroleum sector, Minister of Natural Resources Vikram Bharat late on Friday night declined to provide the Parliamentary Committee of Supply with the names of the four companies that are expected to sign the new production sharing agreement for four of the country's lucrative offshore oil blocks. As he was pressed for answers by APNU AFC Member of Parliament David Patterson, the Natural Resources Minister said when the time is right, the announcement will be made by the government. In the past, the Natural Resources Ministry had indicated that Total Energies Consortium, the International Group Investments Inc., Sibili Energy Limited, and Delcor Inc. had all accepted the new production sharing agreement and were expected to sign off on the agreement. But as he dodged questions during his appearance before the Committee of Supply, the Natural Resources Minister said when compared to the Stabroek Block 2016 production sharing agreement, the new agreements for both the deep water and shallow water blocks would return greater benefits to the people of Guyana.
So, Mr. Speaker, one of the fiscal terms that has already been changed in new PSA that the Honourable Member asks of is instead of 0% tax in the Stabroek PSA, any future PSA moving forward will have 10% tax. Will have 10% tax. Mr. Speaker, instead of 2% royalty in the Stabroek PSA, we will now have 10% royalty in any future PSAs. Mr. Speaker, instead of 75% cost recovery in the Stabroek block, we will then have a 65% cost recovery. And what does that mean, Mr. Speaker? It simply means more money up front for Guyana while we are still paying off the cost bank or the capital investment by the companies investing.
The government has retained the 50-50 profit sharing after cost recovery. Outside of the fiscal terms, the Natural Resources Minister said the PSAs have outlined strict timelines, and if breached, they could see the operators paying hefty fees.
We have ensured that work programs are adhered to, and that if the work program is not adhered to, there is a penalty whereby the operator, the companies, must pay at least half of the amount of money that was allocated towards that work program.
Minister Barrett said while he has taken note of a commitment by the opposition to review the controversial 2016 Stabroek Block PSA signed with ExxonMobil, the government remains firm in its position and that it will not renegotiate the contract. He said the government has opted to craft the new PSAs that would govern future blocks.
We have made it clear that we are not going to renegotiate the Stabroek contract. We have made it very clear that we are not going to renegotiate the Stabroek contract, but we are going to develop a model PSA to bring additional benefits to any other PSA that will be signed with any other company, including ExxonMobil.
This year marks 2 years since the government placed 14 of the country's oil blocks up for auction. The Civil Aviation Training School here in Guyana has been accredited by the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, under the Train Air Plus program. Minister of Public Works Ogle has disclosed. The ICAO Plus certification means that the International Civil Aviation Authority recognizes the local school as having the ability to develop and deliver training packages for civil aviation. Guyana's instrument of certification is expected to be handed over within a week.
It means, honorable member, that we will not only be allowed to train Guyanese, but we can train people from all over the Caribbean and any other country that wishes to come to Guyana because of the quality of training that is taking place here with our air traffic controllers and other people in the aviation industry.
The Public Works Minister who holds responsibility for the aviation sector, Ogle, was at the time responding to a series of questions posed to him during the consideration of the 2025 budget estimates for his ministry. According to Minister Ogle, the ICAO Secretary General has indicated that Guyana's aviation industry has one of the highest qualities of overflight service. He said the commendation and certification augur well for the country and could see CATS generating additional revenue.
Eventually, it will become a means of revenue earning because as people come to Guyana for training, they will have to pay. And we will not have to be coming back to the house to ask for more money.
Last year, the Civil Aviation Training School recorded its highest success rate, with 23 out of 25 students successfully completing certification in various aviation disciplines. It was a deadly weekend on the country's roadways. A 25-year-old man died tragically on Sunday morning when he lost control of his car along the public road at Temeri and slammed into a truck that was traveling in the opposite direction. The dead man has been identified as Surish Singh of Hillfoot Suzaik Linden Highway. The incident took place at around 6:30 on Sunday morning. A police report stated that Singh was driving his motorcar at a fast rate when he suddenly lost control of the vehicle and ended up in the path of a truck. A surveillance video recording of the accident captured by a security camera nearby showed the car being driven by Singh slipping to the edge of the roadway before he tried to regain control, but instead ended up in the path of the truck that was being driven in the opposite direction. The police said the 25-year-old was taken to the Diamond Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. His body bore multiple injuries. A post-mortem examination is to be carried out on the body to determine an official cause of death. Meanwhile, the driver of the truck was taken into custody and has been assisting the police with their investigations. And early on Sunday night, an 18-year-old motorcyclist who was unlicensed lost his life in the Namstel along the public road when he crashed into a motor car. The teenage accident victim was identified as Finidi Miggins of the Namstel West Coast, Demerara. The accident took place after 9 o'clock last night. A report from the Guyana Police Force stated that Miggins was riding his motorcycle along the public road when he slammed into a car that was being driven in the opposite direction. The police said the motorcyclist was overtaking another car when he ended up in the path of the other vehicle. His brother was a pillion rider, and the two young men were flung onto the roadway after the impact. The brother managed to survive and is now hospitalized with broken legs, but Miggins passed away at the hospital while receiving medical attention for multiple injuries. The police say he appeared to have been riding at a fast rate at the time of the accident. The matter remains under investigation tonight. And late on Sunday night, two young friends from Temeri North on the east bank of Demerara lost their lives tragically in another accident along the Land of Canaan public road on the east bank of Demerara. Dead are 22-year-old Ronaldo Gordon and 23-year-old Joel Sutherland. At the time of that accident, the car was being driven by Ronaldo Gordon with Joel as the front seat passenger. Eyewitnesses reported that the car was proceeding north along the western drive lane of the Land of Canaan public road at a fast rate when the driver, Ronaldo Gordon, lost control of the vehicle, which ended up in the eastern drive lane and slammed into a concrete bridge rail on the side of the roadway. The impact pitched both the driver and the occupant out of the vehicle. The two were picked up in an unconscious state by passers-by and rushed to the Diamond Hospital, where doctors pronounced both men dead on arrival. The police said both men suffered multiple injuries about their bodies.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyoil is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyoil's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyoil has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us.
What was supposed to be a night of celebration turned into disaster after 4 friends who were all drunk left the bar in the city without a designated driver. Designate a driver. Don't drink and drive.
It all starts with one. Maybe it's one look, you know the one, or one touch, even one word. It can start with one step, or one promise, one thrill, one first time, one deep breath, one leap of faith. One day to remember, or one night to forget. One moment, so many stories that make up one crazy, average, everyday, fabulous life. We get one life, just one. Make your move. It all starts with one.
Across the region tonight, let's begin in Trinidad and Tobago, where the country's first female commissioner of police, Earl Herwood Christopher, has been fired. The day after she was arrested, the Police Service Commission dismissed the Commissioner of Police and wrote to the President, Christine Kangaloo, to appoint Deputy Commissioner of Police, Junior Benjamin, as her replacement. In a letter to the President of Trinidad and Tobago, which she received on the 31st of January, the Police Service Commission said that it directed Herwood Christopher to cease to report for duty and cease to discharge the duties of Commissioner of Police. At the time, Herwood Christopher was arrested and detained at the St. Clair Police Station for questioning over the granting of an import license to secure military-grade equipment for the Security Services Agency. The Police Service Commission, which is chaired by criminologist Dr. Wendell Wallace, said its decision was as a result of the ongoing investigation into misbehavior in public office. In its letter, it recommended that Benjamin be appointed to act as Commissioner of Police and Kurt Simon be appointed acting Deputy Commissioner of Police in his stead. The government of Curacao has officially granted a key land reservation at the Reef area to the Curacao Ports Authority, marking a major step toward boosting the island's cruise industry. The move will facilitate the expansion of the cruise terminal's logistics capacity, allowing the island to better accommodate the growing number of visitors. The decision comes as Curaçao's cruise sector continues to experience significant growth. In 2024, the island saw a record-breaking 834,530 cruise arrivals, a 17% increase compared to 2023 and 4% higher than initial projections for the year. Notably, the island also saw a 3% growth over the peak year of 2019, further solidifying its position as a top cruise destination in the Caribbean. The expansion is expected to improve logistics, streamline operations, and enhance the overall experience for cruise visitors. And finally tonight, international news. U.S. President Donald Trump has paused new tariffs on Mexico for 1 month after Mexico agreed today to reinforce its northern border with 10,000 National Guard members to stem the flow of illegal drugs. The agreement also includes a U.S. commitment to act to prevent trafficking of high-powered weapons to Mexico, the Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said on X. The two leaders spoke by phone today, just hours before U.S. tariffs on Mexico, China, and Canada were set to take effect. The countries will use the month-long suspension to engage in further negotiations, Mr. Trump said on social media. He said he looks forward to participating in the negotiations with President of Mexico, Sheinbaum, as they attempt to achieve a deal between the two countries. The agreement, less than 48 hours after Trump announced sweeping tariffs on goods from the top 3 U.S. trading partners, was emblematic of the often chaotic nature of the early days of his second presidency, reports the BBC. The BBC says while the deal eases the pressure for now on Mexico, prospects for a comparable reprieve imminently for Canada and China appeared dim. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting and encouraging you to have a safe and enjoyable evening.